Hi everyone. I know you've been waiting for this tutorial, so here it is, and I'm going to describe what I'm doing. I'm using Ivory Soap in this tutorial, which is a very unique soap. It's different from almost any other soap besides Jergens. It's very creamy and fluffy, which makes it really, really nice and crispy for ASMR stuff, but it is also sometimes delicate to work with, so it's very moist when you get it, which is why these wrappers took a while to get off. I like to use gloves when I work with soap. And I take a potato peeler. This Ivory Soap was pretty nice and fresh, so I just peeled it. And this peeler that I use it naturally gives it kind of a curl. Different peelers peel in different ways. Some are thicker, some are thinner. I've noticed I have one that curls it even more, one that keeps it kind of flat. So I would encourage you to buy a few different ones, even at the dollar store, and experiment with it. And then you can just peel your soap. Now, to do a rose, you would bend these more and create circles and do layers of circles. But because this ivory is just delicate, I'm just going to stack these curls kind of like piles of chips, which still is really great for crushing, and it's just a simpler way to dry them out and to arrange them, because sometimes with roses, if you bend it too much, it will break. I think I break a few of these curls in the video, so you'll get to see that. But I'm taking a break from the peeling and stacking them up so they don't get too dried out, separate from each other. You also can just leave them separate, and, oh, see, that one broke. You could just leave a pile of curls to dry out, but I'm doing these kind of little horseshoe stacks. And then I'm going to peel some more. So you'll see me peel the whole bar. When the bar starts to kind of get down to it, it's a little harder to peel, and eventually you'll bend it and it'll break, but I'm just kind of holding it in a weird way. And you can also place it down flat on the table to peel it. You'll find your way, but I do encourage you to wear gloves. Actually, a lot of times I wear even thicker gardening gloves so that I don't cut myself at all, because I've cut myself really bad with the vegetable peeler, which is not a very clean cut, and it's really painful. So I finished peeling the bar, and now I am going to keep arranging my little half curl stacks. I have a tiny bit left to peel, so I turned my remaining chunk sideways, and I'm doing these little thin strips, which I'm not gonna stack them or anything, but they still dry out really nicely and are really fun to crush. So there's no right way to do this. I also want to say that. And I think a lot of people who get into this, you just kind of experiment and see what happens. Okay, so now you can see I have my stacks and my little pile of skinny curls right there. And next I am going to cut some soap. All right, I moved the curls out of the way a little bit, and I'm going to open this second bar of Ivory Soap, which is also kind of hard to open because it is so moist. Ivory also has a strong smell, and when I'm crushing it, I wear a mask because it's a very dusty soap to crush, and it makes me feel like coughing. So this is called a hobby knife, what I'm using to cut here, and it's different than the knives you see people sort of scrape the soap with, and this I like to use for cutting stripes or cubes. So you can get these for really cheap online or at Michael's. I'm cutting stripes. They're not perfect. You want to press partway down through the bar, but obviously not down through the whole bar, otherwise the bar will fall apart. Again, this is something you just practice and get a feel for. And it's very forgiving. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It still works out great once it dries out. Now I'm going to do cubes on this one, which means I'm going to cut a grid into the soap. And you'll see this one was a little tricky because it started falling apart, which happens with a lot of soaps. So you just have to be careful, and I kind of just, you'll see I kind of try to hold it together as I'm cutting the cubes. And this doesn't always happen. The ivory could be even fresher, honestly, and this might not happen, or some soaps are just the perfect texture and this doesn't happen. But I just kind of do the best that I can, and it usually works out just fine. So here I only cut cubes part way through because it was falling apart, and the stripes are still really fun too. I'm sure you've seen people do both. And at the top is one of my little stacks, and there's my little completed soap project. And I'm going to show you my next step. So now I have a sort of shallow cardboard box that I cut the flaps off of. This is how I dry all my soap. I always save these boxes when I find them or cut them down like this. And then I'm gently placing the soap I just cut into this box. You have to kind of be gentle when you transfer it, depending on the soap. Again, some soaps are much more tough than Ivory Soap. So I always dry my soap in cardboard boxes like this, and it's really easy to move it around the house or go stick it in the garage or place it by the fireplace, wherever you live. So these curls will only take a few days to dry. The bar of soap will take longer. And again, just experiment with it.